The unrest in California completes 1 full week on Thursday. But with each passing day, the Trump administration is deploying more and more troops in the western state. And the city of Los Angeles has now become a flashpoint. California state administration is now fighting this battle against Donald Trump in court. The state of California has filed a lawsuit against what the administration calls an unlawful use of power by the U.S. president. California Governor Gavin Newsom asked a federal judge to block the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard members and Marines to L.A. In the lawsuit, California administration argues that Trump's federal actions promote civil unrest. The lawsuit against Trump also has one key argument. The case says that Trump administration violated the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which details the limits of the federal power.
Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk.
A federal judge has ordered the U.S. president and co-defendants to file a response in the lawsuit. The deadline is just within a few hours, and Trump has already said that the ordered troop deployment under Title 10 of the U.S. Code. Title 10 has a provision which allows the U.S. president to deploy National Guard units into federal service under 3 circumstances. That's number 1, if the U.S. is invaded. Number 2, if there is a rebellion or danger of rebellion. Or if the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Even now, at the moment, there is heavy troop deployment in California. So far, at least, the police have arrested 25 people for violating the curfew. Law enforcement officers confronted demonstrators outside the federal building as demonstrations intensified. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth faced a rally of questions and criticism from Democrat lawmakers on the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. Hegseth said that the deployment was to protect ICE agents, and he refused to divulge the cost of the expansive troop deployment in L.A.
ICE agents should be allowed to be safe in doing their operations, and we have deployed National Guard and the Marines to protect them in the execution of their duties, because we ought to be able to enforce immigration law in this country.
The use of the active duty forces raises questions on how this unprecedented situation will be navigated. The U.S. Marines are highly trained in combat and crisis response, but their experience and expertise lies in global conflict zones and not a chaotic domestic protest. According to reports on Tuesday, the Pentagon was working on a memo to issue guidelines for the Marines who have been deployed in these demonstrations. But pressure is building on the Defense Department, especially on Pete Hegseth. California senators have reportedly written to the Pentagon demanding an explanation on the legal basis for deploying active duty Marines in Los Angeles. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Johanna LeBlanc, political analyst, national security law analyst and foreign relations expert. And she's joining us live on the broadcast from Washington, D.C. Welcome to Race to Power, Ms. LeBlanc. First up, of course, does the Trump administration have the legal basis for deploying active Marine troops to quell the demonstrations after Trump deployed National Guards? And the deployment at the demonstration site that we are seeing is more than what the U.S. has deployed in Iraq and Syria.
Well, if the United States government, in this case, the President of the United States, deemed that there's an insurrectionist in the state of California, then by law, the President could deploy federal troops on the ground to address the crisis without the consent of the governor or without the request of the governor.
Right, Ms. LeBlanc, the California administration has now filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration. I want to seek your assessment. How do you think is the U.S. justice system looking at this, and what are legal experts saying?
Well, I think that the President of the United States will have to show that there is indeed an insurrection happening in the United States, that there is an invasion of folks from different countries. And in this case, Mr. Trump has always said that the number of illegal, undocumented immigrants that we have here in this country and the number of folks who have entered through the U.S.-Mexico border, it qualifies as an invasion of our country. So I think it's a matter of how the Department of Justice litigate this. And then ultimately, I think Mr. Trump is willing to take this all the way to the Supreme Court because there are a number of protests that are scheduled to take place across America. And I think Mr. Trump wants to be in a position where he will be able to deploy national troops, if needed, across America in order to send a very strong message. Listen, the federal government is not playing here. We want law and order, and we want those folks deported by any means necessary.
Right, Mr. Blank, you do speak of how that is Trump's broader agenda of deploying troops across the country. Do you think that there's a broader strategy in play with Trump deploying active troops at the protest site?
I think there is certainly a broader strategy at play. One of the strategy is that we know Mr. Trump ran a campaign on immigration, that he was going to deport as many undocumented or illegal immigrants as possible. And secondly, when it's time for election, again, by the time the midterms come around, Mr. Trump wants to be able to say that he has delivered to the American people. But I think that there are more productive ways for Mr. Trump to do this. I think some of the images that we're seeing does not represent Mr. Trump's administration quite well. One of the things I think Mr. Trump could have done is that it costs roughly $14,000 to deport one undocumented person. I think that right now the administration is offering $1,000 for self-deportation. They could increase that to maybe $9,000 and $10,000 for folks to self-deport. And I think you'll see more and more people wanting to deport versus the United States having to find them and deport them, which costs the U.S. taxpayers a whole lot more money.
Right, Mr. Blank, thank you so much for joining us here on Race to Power.
Thank you.